I'll invite you to rise and body your spirit to join us in this first hymn. Building bridges between our divisions, we reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all of our voices and all of our visions? Friends, we could make such. Now our friends here on the left start. Building bridges between our divisions, building bridges between our divisions.
Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains. Thank you. I am Al Roki, and my pronouns are he and him, though I also like the singular they. I and Kim will be your worship associates this morning. We gather in the light of four fruits. It's a blessing you were born. Okay. It's a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true. And an important reminder, you don't have to go it alone. Those watching on Zoom can find an order of service on our website, CUUC.org, CUUCWP.org. For those here in person, if you have not already done so, please silence your phones. If you're new and visiting us online this morning, please take a moment to click the link in the chat and fill out the visitor form and let us know how you would like to be connected. If you're new and visiting in person, we invite you to stop by the welcome table and say hello. Part of being in a community is sharing our lives with each other. All are invited to share a joy or sorrow in our milestones book on the table by the south window. For those on Zoom, please follow the prompts in the chat.
And my name is Kim, and I use the pronouns she and her. And we begin our service with a shared ritual, lighting our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. It represents the light of reason, the warmth of community, the quest for truth, and the fire of commitment to social justice. So please join me in saying our chalice lighting words from Leah Ongiri. Here we are together, each facing our different human tasks, or maybe the same central one, to embrace the lessons life delivers, to discern and respond as we grow, to refuse harm and cherish flourishing. May we know ourselves as vessels of infinite possibility, holders of each other's heartaches and tales of joy alike, weavers of one story in which we each have our part.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Danielle Lindstrom. My pronouns are she, hers. I am so deeply honored to be the minister here at CUUC. It is good to be together. Our opening words, healing strands of the great web, by the Reverend Erica Hewitt. Mystery of mysteries. We are thirsty for justice and bearing witness to grief. We're claiming our inherent wholeness and healing strands of the great web. We are hungry for liberation and cracking ourselves wide open. We are mourning the dead and fighting for the living. We're singing for joy and striving for meaning. We're embodying love, reaching out to love, acting on love's behalf, and letting that love wash over us, ebbing and flowing as it carries and holds us all. May we do it all over again as the new day comes. Our first hymn this morning is hymn number 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People. This hymn by Holly Near, and I want to share just a little bit of the story behind it. So she wrote this song after Harvey Milk, who had been working on LGBTQ rights, right, working tirelessly on that effort. She wrote this after he was assassinated. In the car with a group of friends on their way to San Francisco, they had to be there. They had to be together. She started humming this hymn. By the time they got to San Francisco, 2 verses had been written. One of the verses, we are gay and lesbian people. Right? And she shares that for many, when they were singing it all together, that was the first time they had said those words out loud to themselves, out loud about themselves. Right? And then she noticed allies began to sing loudly with them. From her interview, the words were then changed to we are gay and straight together, and the song found its way into our Unitarian hymnal. She writes, and then we learned a lot more about sexuality and gender identity, right? And she says, I cannot fit all of those words into the meter of the song. She offers this, but whatever door you walk through, to your very essence, just know we see you. We see you. And so she wrote, and we are all in this together. And we are singing. And it became an anthem of the LGBT movement. And it's a song that's been carried all over the world, sung by hundreds of thousands of people. So this morning, we sing to that binary with care to the intention and the space the song was written. So we'll sing that binary while also making space for all of the ways we show up, we see one another. We're in this together. So I will invite you to rise in body and spirit and join in singing, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
And we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people. And we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people. And we are singing, singing for our lives. And we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are men of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
I am Tracy Brenneman, the congregation's religious educator. My pronouns are she, her. So this morning, we are continuing thinking about values. Those of you in journey groups or who attended the Creating Theology Together class had a list of 100 values that you were asked to pare down to 10, 5, 2, 1. And last week, we read the story, The Empty Pot, and we talked about some of the values from that story. Who remembers some of the values that we talked about? Yeah, Alex. Curiosity, yeah. That was awesome. Courage. What else? Curiosity, yep. Love, yes. And some of the values that you all have been talking about in your journey groups or in the class, or even some values that are important to you that you lift up. What are they? Kindness, community, gratitude, justice, joy, friendship, service, courage, faith, health. So we're going to look and see about how our values intersect with each other. And we're going to try something new, thanks to Kim Force and Kim and Christian at the tech desk. We've given them a few extra cartwheels this morning. We're going to do a Mentimeter, or a word cloud, rather. So I invite you to get your phones ready. We are going to put a QR code up on the screen. And what you can do is lift your camera and point it at the QR code. And if some of you don't have phones or you just want to share, you can keep entering lots and lots of words. So please partner with your neighbor if you like. And I invite you to start entering values that are important to you. As you enter them, start to see them appear on the screen. When a word is entered more than once, it takes on a larger part of the word cloud. So when the words start growing, it means several people have been entering that value. Awesome. Yes, and Rev Danielle has a phone. I have a phone if anybody needs it. So I see love, connection, curiosity, integrity, family, courage, safety, empathy, patience, laughter, trust. What's in the center? Love. Just like with the mosaics that we've been doing about the 7 values, and we did one last Sunday, which I put in the newsletter, and it's hanging in the RE lobby. That mosaic was love, and we talk about having love at the center of our UU values. You can keep entering those. And I want to ask, what do you see? Does anything stand out to you? What do you see in these words? In these values? Authenticity. Authenticity, yeah. What else do you see? What's that? Sushi? Awesome. Awesome. I will say there is a profanity screen, so
I think whoever put sushi up there, actually, humor is their value? Is that humor a value?
humanity. Humanity. What does it look like for us to live these values out in the world? What does that look like? How do you carry these values into the world, into this congregation? Yes. You can take them and work, and the world can become a better place. Absolutely. Absolutely. How would you work with them? What would you do? You'd follow them and try your best, and that is enough. What else does it look like? How do you carry these values into your week? Treat everyone like you'd like to be treated. What else? What else does it look like to live these values? We need our values now, especially. Yes. Showing up. Absolutely. Noticing. What else? Yeah. Okay, an extension of showing up is speaking up. Absolutely. Yes. To help you reroute and forgive yourself when you inevitably don't follow the values. Absolutely, we all have those days, and we have to offer ourselves grace, right? Yes. Yes. Next Sunday, we're going to be starting a community conversation about getting organized to live into our values in the coming years. And I hope that you will participate in that conversation. Our values and action moving together in the same direction can be a source of hope for us. The choir is going to sing Siahamba, and part of the definition is moving together in one direction. Often we leave right after the story or conversation. Today we're going to stay because several of our young people have or are singing this in school. So we thought it would be fun for you all to hear the choir, and then we will go out to class. I will say the 5th to 7th graders are already on their way to Quaker meeting as part of their Global Spiritual Traditions class. So after the choir, then, the rest of us will head out to classes. invite our young people to head out to class with your teachers.
Every contribution is a testament to our collective dedication to creating a more equitable and compassionate world. The Church of the Larger Fellowship, or CLF, is a Unitarian Universalist congregation without walls, connecting people all over the world for spiritual growth, worship, learning, and mutual support. Thanks to CLF's prison ministry, people who are incarcerated now make up more than 10% of their membership. Most hear about CLF from other prisoners. Some discover UUs in newspaper, magazine, or a book. Every week, prisoners' membership applications to CLF echo what UUs elsewhere hear every Sunday during coffee hour. I can't believe I found a church that will let me believe what I already believe and still help me explore and deepen my own personal spirituality. Thank you for your kindness, your compassion, and your commitment to making CUUC and the world a better place. Your support truly makes a difference.
part of being in community is sharing our lives with one another. Will you join me in just a shared deep breath? Feeling that joy, that love, that connection, the giggle of so many children this morning. Oh, so good. In the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, of love, human connection, mystery of mysteries. It is good. It is good to be together. May we begin in gratitude. Gratitude for this gathered community, both in person and online. This community that holds us in our joys and in our sorrows. From our community, we lift these prayers, these joys, these milestones, these sorrows. We continue to lift into the larger love that connects one to all those impacted by the devastating fires in California. We lift into this love our hope for peace and possibility in our larger world. We lift into this love that is shared here, felt here, experienced here, known here. We lift into this love those joys and sorrows and milestones that remain on our hearts, unshared out loud and still held here. From our opening, mystery of mysteries, we are thirsty for justice and bearing witness to grief. We are claiming our inherent wholeness and healing strands of the great web that connects one to all. We're embodying love, reaching out to love, acting on love's behalf, and letting that love wash over us, ebbing and flowing as it carries and holds us all. Will you join me now in a moment of quiet, to pray, to meditate, or to dream? Amen. Blessed be.
A reading, Amen, by Linnea Nelson. Amen. I yearn to skip over time, to instantly be transported to a place of peace and hope and love, to once again feel the sacred amen of life. Yet, here we are, in grief, in sadness, and in pain. Amen? We ask each other how we can possibly glimpse joy again when our souls will no longer feel as though they have been collectively trampled. We are wondering how we will be able to move forward in love. How will we be able to glimpse joy? Amen to finding the persistence to be open to the love that is surely there. May amen punctuate our constant suffering, our current suffering. Give us a point at which to breathe and reflect, a resting place before we move forward. Amen. May we connect with one another to discover hope. May we feel the love that will sustain us. May we discover a way to allow our souls to be filled with peace and hope and love. Amen. May it be so. Amen.
8 years ago, 8 years ago, I walked up into the old wood pulpit, hands on either side, tracing those patterns with my fingers, and took a deep breath. I was the youth minister at Unitarian Universalist Society of Newton, Massachusetts. At the beginning of the church year, I had agreed to fill the pulpit for the 3-day weekend. I knew it was MLK weekend, people would travel. I said, sure, I will take that Sunday. I did not know that by saying yes, I had also agreed to fill the pulpit the Sunday before the first Trump inauguration. On November 7th, 2016, I got a phone call from my youngest sister. She was in 6th or 7th grade at the time in a small school in rural Michigan. Right? Remember, my small town had 1,800 people, that kind of small town. People drove tractors to school, kind of small town. We were not a farming family, right? So she calls me up, and she tells me the story of getting kicked out of class. Her teacher had written up on the board, "How would you make America great again?" And the classroom erupted in those slogans, right, that we heard. What I admire about my youngest sister is that she's real fiery. She does not stand for injustice, right? If she sees something, she's going to say something, not always in the most polite way, but you're going to hear it. So she stands up and starts yelling back her values, right? And she was the one told to leave the classroom. She was told to go cool down in the hallway while they continued to talk about how they would make America great again. I listened to her story. I was proud of her for sharing her values, her views. And then what did I do in my infinite wisdom? What did I do? Did I listen deeper for her experience? Did I support her in processing the messaging, right? She had seen these signs around town
She was questioning the identity, the friends she knew and their values and her values. She was questioning where she fit into all of this. And did I listen and hear and help process? No. No, I didn't. What I did instead that night was I said, just wait and see tomorrow. We'll be laughing tomorrow. Wait and see. Just wait and see. And we hung up. I stood in that pulpit, hands gripping either side, hoping to gain some of the courage, some of the support from years of sermons that pulpit had heard, right? The honesty and the truth-telling that pulpit had experienced through the generations. And I told the story of my sister calling the night before. And I connected it back with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's sermon, A Knock at Midnight. The sermon tells the parable in Luke, which of you has a friend who will go to him at midnight and say to him, friend, lend me 3 loaves, for a friend of mine has arrived on a journey, and I have nothing to set before them. Dr. King explains that this parable is really about the power of persistent prayer, that we turn to prayer again and again in our darkest hour. But he offers then that it is midnight in our world when he is writing. He writes, the darkness is so deep we can hardly see which way to turn. That as a nation, we have taken to living in the midnight hour. And I quote from his sermon written in 1963. Men desperately seek to obey the 11th commandment when living in the midnight hour. The 11th commandment, thou shalt not get caught. According to the ethic of midnight, he wrote, the cardinal sin is to be caught, and the cardinal virtue is to get by. That it's all right to lie, but one must lie with real finesse. It's all right to steal if one is so dignified that if caught, the charge becomes embezzlement, not robbery. It is permissible, Dr. King wrote, even to hate if one so dresses this hating in the garments of love, that hating appears to be loving. That's living in the midnight hour. The morning of the election in 2016, I woke up and all I could think about was, what am I going to say to my sister who trusted me, who came to me, needing something that I couldn't hear? After that election, people started coming to Unitarian Universalist congregations. After the election this past November, people started coming to our UU congregations. When the knock comes at midnight, Dr. King wrote, that people come knocking at midnight on the church door, looking for the bread of faith, the bread of hope, the bread of love. And that is the role of the church, of the congregation, to provide that bread to anyone who comes knocking. How are congregations going to do this? By being honest. Again, quoting from his sermon, if the church will free itself from the shackles of a deadening status quo and recovering its great and historic mission, will speak and act fearlessly and insistently in terms of justice and peace, it will enkindle the imagination of humankind and fire the souls of people, imbuing them with a glowing and ardent love for truth, justice, and peace. People far and near will know the church as a great fellowship of love that provides light and bread for lonely travelers at midnight. Amen. In my sermon 8 years ago, I wanted to share the truth. I wanted to name what was happening, but also hold hope that it would not be midnight forever. Right? That all was not lost, though it felt that way at the time. Right? So I wanted to be honest. So I started naming plans, promises that were made by the administration at that time, promises that go against our Unitarian Universalist values, promises like repealing the Affordable Care Act. And I said, the darkness is so deep, we hardly see which way to turn. Defunding Planned Parenthood, the darkness so deep. Removing environmental protections, the darkness is so deep. But then I wanted to offer counter narratives. I wanted hope for us to feel and experience hope with the promise that dawn will come. The Women's March at the time, dawn will come. UU churches holding civil disobedience trainings, dawn will come. Black Lives Matter banners outside of our congregations, dawn will come, dawn will come. And I asked them in that sermon, is dawn starting to sound too optimistic? And I asked that because I sat down with the sabbatical minister at the time at the First UU Society in Newton. We sat down together to go over this sermon. And he reminded me that marches and protests have happened before, and that often they led to little change. He said that people expect protests and might be wary of their success or impact. He asked what I could offer them in my sermon. What could I offer? If this is where I'm finding my dawn, what about the people who don't see it there? I again thought of my sister. She is in a town, a school where she feels it is filled with support for ideas that she believes are wrong or cruel or unfair. She was shown that expressing a counter narrative would get her kicked out of her class. To me, that part of the sermon was for her, so that she could see she is not alone in her beliefs. Protests might be expected, and we can argue whether they are the most effective, but they have the potential to inspire a sense of belonging, a sense of validation, of hope, and commitment to social justice. When people come to our Unitarian Universalist congregations, one of the first things we hear, I didn't know this existed. I didn't know that a place that shared my values, inspired my curiosity while inviting me to go deeper, to keep learning, keep growing. I didn't know you existed. Dean Spade, author of Mutual Aid, Building Solidarity During This Crisis and the Next, offers people come often to contribute. They have something to bring, looking for something, but they stay because they feel needed, included, part of something. Relationships are built on a belief that we are doing important, bold survival work together. He asks then, how do we hold our values of flexibility, compassion, and justice while building a culture where we show up and do what we said we would? If I came knocking on this congregation's door at midnight, if I came knocking at midnight in my life, and I saw this artwork, right, sharing the individual values of this community, I would expect to be fed the bread of faith, of hope, and of love. I would expect to be met with that here, right? Thank you to everyone who has spent time considering your core values and being brave enough to share them here. This, friends, is an act of bravery. Right? And if you are still working, you are still considering, we have the words, I encourage you to reflect deeply. What is your center? What defines you? And to stay curious. If you have a chance to talk with one another about your core values, ask what that value means to the person sharing it. I guarantee we do not have the same definition of the words shown up here. We have here our values kaleidoscope, the values we look through to see how to act and how to be in community. Considering how our values of love and humor and health and positivity and inclusion and courage and curiosity and joy, kindness, love, these impact how we show up to and for and with one another. Now what? Now what? We have shared our words. Now what? Brené Brown invites us to continue working with these value words. Right? What are the behaviors that support our values? What are our slippery behaviors that tempt us to counter them? We're not done with our value words. We're inviting one another now to go deeper. So I share my example, my value of joy. Joy that is connecting with one another deeply. Right? The joy that is found in deep appreciation, deep care, deep connections, behaviors that I do that support my value. Making the really hard phone call when I'm worried I won't know what to say. Not getting lost in the self-talk. They don't want to hear from me. What do I have to offer? And calling and trusting that presence matters. I believe we are so deeply interconnected in ways that we cannot know, we cannot understand or comprehend. So when I get an impulse to call someone or their name pops into my head, I reach out, I connect. How often I am met with, I was just thinking about you. I didn't know how much I needed to talk to you in that moment. A slippery behavior. For me, ignoring the challenging moments to get back to the fun. We want to have fun. Not listening deeply enough to hear what's underneath the story. Right? Not hearing, for example, my sister, what she needed from me in that moment, and instead rushing into saving her from pain. It's a heck of a lot more fun to say, they'll see tomorrow, than to unpack what she was experiencing. Right? For me, there cannot be joy if there isn't also justice and courage, connection, compassion. If I am rushing to fun too quickly, moving through discomfort to be comfortable, I am not living my value of joy. Joy is something so much larger and deeper than happiness and comfort. And an example of living into this value, I have been wondering what we're going to need in the coming weeks. And so we're holding gathering space here tomorrow night to watch the interfaith service and moral mass meeting, Justice Rising, a call to action in America's defining moment, where our Unitarian Universalist Association president, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, will be part of that conversation. Right? I know I need to be together. So we have homework once again this week. Spend some more time with your value. What are the behaviors you have that support your value? What are the slippery behaviors that invite you to live outside of it? And what does it feel like? Or when was a time when you were fully living into this value? Again, from Dean Spade, We can acknowledge differences in our capacities, talents, desires, and difficulties, and still aim to create a culture where we support each other in the work, learning new skills, and are connected and kind to each other. The goal is not that everyone be similar. The goal is not that everyone be similar, but that we all complement each other and build some shared practices based in these values. Sharing them out loud, these values, is step one. How do we practice? How do we live them? What does it look like? What does it mean to be authentic in who we are and the work we are trying to do together? I wouldn't frame the sermon, once again, on the edge of an inauguration. This time, I wouldn't frame it as darkness before dawn. Then I felt the need to provide honesty and hope in tangible, evidence-based ways, right? There are laws and marches and trainings and signs that prove we won't let the midnight hour rule without one hell of a fight. That was the energy. Still. Now I find the need for the amen as shared in our reading. Amen as finding the persistence to be open to the love that is surely there. Amen to punctuate the current suffering, the more that is to come, to give us a point to breathe and reflect. A resting place before we move forward. Amen as in may it be so. A wish, a prayer, a blessing. My value to live and share a deep joy. Amen, may it be so. Your value to live with courage, compassion, authenticity, love, care, home. Amen. May it be so. A blessing, a wish, a prayer. Go forth and practice living these values and then bring that experience back here where we will practice doing so in community. Amen. May it be so. Last time, for me, it felt like the final act of a play. We were finally going to be done living. Last inauguration, I thought surely we would wake up, learn our collective lessons, and make different choices as a society moving forward. That we were truly on the edge of dawn this time. That we were seeing the arc of the moral universe bend in front of us in real time. This was going to do it. Now, still resonating so deeply with the sermon that was shared 63 years ago, I am not so sure where we are on the arc. I don't know. I don't know what hour it is in the night. What I do know is that light shines through. That the actions we make based on our truest values will make a difference. Amen. May it be so. That as I shared in that sermon 8 years ago, that it is our responsibility to be a flicker in the darkness, to nurture the fire in our souls, to acknowledge, recognize, and care for the fires in the souls of those around us. Amen. May it be so. That our congregation, with our sibling congregations, do all that we can to remain a prophetic voice. People living our values in the world, even when it feels impossible. Even when we are unsure if it makes a difference at all. Even when the odds we face seem impossible, we are the people that, as Reverend Julian Soto offers, we are the people who return to love like the North Star, even if it's too cloudy to see it clearly, trusting it's always there. Amen. May it be so. To thank people who come to contribute, and to remember we stay because we feel needed, included, part of something. Relationships are built on a belief that we are doing important, bold survival work together, and we are. Amen. May it be so. To offer those who come knocking on our door, looking for bread, looking for hope, for connection and love, to be ready to offer all that we have and more, because at the end of the day, what I know, what I trust more than anything is that we need one another. And that's hard. But we need one another. Amen. May it be so. My sister is an adult now. She didn't call the night before the election this year, having been kicked out of class. We spoke the next day of our disappointment and our frustration, general inability to fully understand what was happening. We listened to one another, made no promises this time, made no promises other than to keep going, keep discussing what matters most, watch out for one another, live our values, keep going, offering what we need most, connection and love. May we share that and more with one another as we face uncertainty ahead of us with courage, compassion, love, hope, joy. And when beloveds come knocking on our door at midnight in their darkest hour, may we be the people who fling our doors open wide and say, "Come in. You are who we have been waiting for. It's you. You're here. Welcome." Amen. 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 May it be so.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn. It's number 1020 in your teal hymnal, Wo Ya Ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya 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 ya. Thank you. Please be seated. Please join me in extinguishing our chalice with words from Amy Zucker Morgenstern. And for those of you online, please extinguish your chalice at home with us. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world.
Thanks for being with us today. Our weekly e-communitarian and RE newsletters offer many details of activities here at CUC. We hope you can take a moment to discover all the interesting offerings awaiting you within our community. If you are new at CUUC, we invite you to learn more about us at this month's Newcomers Conversation. Pick up a cup of coffee, then meet in the lobby with Mary, who will walk you to the meeting. Tomorrow we celebrate the life of Martin Luther King Jr. Tomorrow is also the inauguration of the President. We hope you will join Reverend Danielle tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. in the fireside area for a community viewing of a special interfaith service inspired by Dr. King's legacy, offering a declaration of hope and a moral response to those with an immoral vision for America. It has been a gift to be together today. As we enjoy our parting music, please spend a few moments talking with someone you don't know. Escort each other to coffee hour and other events, and may we all know the blessings of friendship.
Thank you, Lisa, and the choir this morning. And thank you to Adam, thank you to our tech team, to our worship associates, to those nourishing us during coffee hour, thank you. It takes all of us to make this community possible. We gather centered in our values, imagining possibilities, holding on to the truth that it matters what we do, that we show up for and with one another in what is to come, that we offer what we have to those who come knocking at midnight, that we offer love and hope, a place to rest if what we need is to rest, a space to breathe, a space to begin again. And friends, beloveds, we will keep singing, all in this together. Our worship is over, our service begins. Go now in peace and know that you are loved. Amen.